Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. How are you doing on this beautiful day? It is Wednesday. It is March the 26th, 2025. It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast. And you know, I have to always tell you what time it is and where we are. And let me tell you, you have joined the Power of Transformation broadcast. I am Dr. Paula Obi, and I'm your hostess. And we come together every Wednesday and we chat with wonderful guests and we have heart to heart conversations. And tonight you're in for a treat. I'm going to tell you, you're going to hear some things and you're going to laugh. You may cry. So go ahead and get your Kleenex, go ahead and get your water and do what you have to do because we're going to have a great conversation with two of the most wonderful women I've ever met in my entire life. We're still celebrating Women's Month, and this is a great way to close it out. So whenever I tell you, I'm telling you to tag your friends, call them if you have time, send them a text, tell them to join us on the Power of Transformation on the ALH broadcasting. And when I ask you to do something, trust me, I'll do the same thing. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Hello, and welcome back. Well, what can I say about our two guests tonight? I've worked with them. I've spent some time around them. They're just two of the coolest women I've ever met in my entire life. I'm not going to waste time because I want to have a lot of time to talk with them. I'm going to introduce to some and present to others. They've been on our show, Miss Jacqueline Bartley, we call her Jackie, and Miss Regina Nickson. Ha! Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hands together for my friends. Oh, my goodness. There are times in our lives when we meet someone or someone's, and there's this instant connection that never ends, even if though we're not working together anymore. We're still on each other's mind. You know, we're still calling, we're still texting, we're still supportive. So, hello, ladies. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, ladies. I miss you all in the present.
Yes,
but we're still connected.
Even though our lives have taken different turns and whatever, we're still definitely connected. We do interact with each other through social media. We text. We know how to text. And
Yes.
believe it or not, we know how to make a phone call, right, Regina?
Oh, absolutely.
But you're talking about I call them the dynamic duos. These are the Wonder Women of the world. They do things. They probably do a lot more than we think. That's who they are. They are Wonder Women. And when we give them a moment to talk about where they are right now, you'll understand that cape is just flowing. The hair is just flowing. But look at them. They got the suit on, chilling.
Yes, dual roles.
Dual roles. There are times when they have to wear the cape, and there are times when they have to put on the suit. I just love it. I think that this is just a perfect representation of the two of you. Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Yes. But sometimes I don't want to embrace it, but yes.
Sometimes you don't want to embrace it.
Right. Because, I mean, there's a lot that comes on with both roles, that superwoman role and that non-superwoman role that, you know, you just have to embrace those changes and those pivots and those adjustments. You have to learn how to flow with it.
And sometimes I don't even view it as a superwoman. It's just what I
do.
Me.
It just flows.
It just flows. It's just, you know, God's assignment. Okay, let's go.
Let's grow. Yeah. Okay, so in the back of our minds, we're going to keep that picture in our heads. But what you're saying is this is just who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're the ones that will get the phone call.
Yep.
We're the ones that people count on. Am I telling this correctly?
Mm-hmm. We're the
ones. We're the problem solvers. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes I think we think about it. I know for myself, as a cursing and a blessing at the same time. But like we said, we were made for this. Mm-hmm. I can't picture myself doing anything else because that's who he designed me to be. And he equipped me to do it. So everything that I need to do, superwoman and not superwoman. And like I tell my husband, from Clark Kent to Superman, it's already inside of us. So he's equipped me to do it. So I have no choice but to do it and but to embrace it.
Yeah, and it's only God.
It's only God.
It's only God. You know, my mom always tells me, Gina, you're doing too much. I want you to rest. And I'm like, Mom, I'm fine. I'm good. And when I'm not fine, I know how to sit down. Because if I don't sit down, God's going to sit me down.
Yes.
But, you know, it's only God through his grace and his mercy that allows us, you know, to be able to move within work, within family responsibility, my new role as a caregiver. I don't know how. All I can say is just God.
You just do. And he'll equip you for that. And Regina is so funny because I'm in that same place about being a caregiver, and you don't know what you don't know until you need it. So it's about navigating in these new spaces and these new arenas, and what papers need to be signed and what needs to be on hand for you to do what you need to do. And it's just that trust factor that someone trusts you in that whole different area. And I think we talked about it before. It's different when you're a mother, because you know what to expect. You know, you hear so many people have been in there, but the people who teach you, and now you have to learn to be their mother or be their figure and be their caregiver and kind of switch those roles. It's different. It's a different avenue. It takes a different grace. Everyone can't do it.
Everyone can't do it. And what's amazing about our testimony is that we're all in this new role.
Yes, all in the same place at the same time.
We're all in the same place at the same time. Mine started last year.
What you about trust.
Yes.
When you talk about trust, when I look at this past year and my role as a caregiver, my parents had to trust me with making decisions, financial decisions. I had to make the decision to move my parents from Colorado to North Carolina.
That's a big decision.
They are my neighbors, like and so selling a house, buying a house, they entrusted me, and that was heavy.
Yes.
That was a heavy load to have that amount of trust. But I said, okay, God, I'm leaning on you because it's a huge responsibility.
It is, because someone else's life is in your hands, and
the medical decisions,
right? Everything medical. And it was so funny. I took my husband and I are doing it for his grandmother, and she had a doctor's appointment last Tuesday. And this was the first time I'm meeting her physicians and getting everything in order and making sure medicine is correct. And the way that she entrusted me, she didn't interrupt. She just pretty much said, you do it. And she said it, I trust you. And when you have that trust, it's very important to make sure you use your responsibility correctly. Because so many people see it on the outside and they don't realize how much responsibility comes along with being the caregiver. It's not just I want to be in control. It's nothing about control. It's about making sure things are in order and things are in place.
Right.
So it's a totally different walk of life. It's a totally different aspect. It's a totally new badge that I'm wearing now in life, not just a mother, something that's added on. But like we talked about earlier, and I think part of the last time we were here, and you reminded me, it's the grace that he's giving us to do it, to walk in it. And we make it look easy. We do. And I had that conversation with my husband actually today, that when we do things that God has assigned us to do so effortlessly, and he gives us grace to do it, it makes people think it's so easy that they can do it until they get into our shoes and be like, oh, this is not easy. It's not. But because of God's grace, he makes us walk into it effortlessly, because he's there guiding us and leading us, and he has us. So we don't walk out there alone.
And what's really amazing about what you're saying, and I'm going to let you guys talk because I've talked about my situation. What's really important is to understand that everyone cannot earn that level of trust.
No.
Let's just make that really clear.
Yes.
Those of you that are out there going, oh, I can do this. Trust me, we've been watching how you handle things up until now. We cannot give you this level. God can't even give you this level.
You're not trustworthy.
Exactly what's going to happen. Within just a few weeks, a lot of things will be in jeopardy, and we cannot afford for another life to be in jeopardy because this person is not emotionally capable. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes, but it's true. He's got to depend on us. It's like Regina said, they had to depend on her to be able to be fiscally accountable, to depend on you to be able to talk about medicines, prescribed medicines that are regulated by the government. You got to have your head on straight.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just went with my dad to his primary care doctor, and I took the sheet of medicines and I said, hey, can we just go over this? Because I want to make sure that I am sorting and giving his medicine correctly. And the doctor did appreciate me. We went through one by one, and then I came back, I adjusted. But I said, wow, if I don't get this right, and I do this wrong, there are implications for that. Yes. And so, when we talk about trust, we talk about the way we move. The mental part of carrying that load is something that I was not prepared for. And I think I shared this with you guys. There's books for how to raise babies and kids and all this. But then when you navigate into that caregiver role, especially when it's your parents, and now the tables are turned, and now you're in the parental role and they're relying on you. It's a heavy weight, but I feel honored. Yes. And appreciative and thankful that God chose me to do this.
Yes. That honor thing is very, very, that honor, because they saw it in you.
Yes.
To do it. And we're doing it with his grandmother, and every time she keeps saying, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
And that you don't have to thank me. I'm doing this because I love you. And I share with her all the time. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was really sick, and my children were with my parents in New Jersey, and it was just me and my husband here. And it was over summer vacation, and I got really, really sick. And my husband was with the hospital pretty much every day, and his grandparents came, and they live about 40 minutes from us, and they drove to the hospital. And I never forget this. I could not bathe myself. My mother was not there. Of course, my husband would have did it, but she stood in the place and she's like, oh no, I'll do it. And I always remind her of that. And I said, do you remember when I couldn't do this for myself? And she said, you remember that? I said, yes. So me doing this for you is the least I can do, because you stood in the gap for me. So I'm giving you what you gave me. And she just looked at me, and she started, if you know her, she's not an emotional person. And she looked, and it's just an honor that she entrusted me to do this for her, because I'm just her daughter in love. I mean, we've been in each other's life for 30 years, but still, to have someone trust you in their vulnerability and speak on their behalf and talk to doctors and talk to people. And even the same thing, Regina, getting those medicines, knowing that this is life and death with them. If they don't take this medicine, if they take too much or take less, it's an important responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. And it's that honor thing that you trust me enough to take care of your well-being. It speaks volumes of not only the relationship that you have with the person, but the love you have as well, that people don't really talk about, because people know who they can trust and who they can't trust. Because you make certain comments.
Say it again.
Don't let
this
person do this. Don't let this person do that. And it makes me, again, he graced us to do this because he knew, one, we were capable, one, he can count on us, and we were equipped to do it. So it is an honor. It's a big honor.
It's huge. And I was telling my mom the other day, yesterday, as a matter of fact, she said, thank you. And I'm like, Mom, are you serious? All the sacrificing that you and Dad have done for me and my brother and my sister, are you kidding me? I was like, you have poured into us so much.
Yes.
Me coming in and cooking dinner and washing your dishes is nothing. I can never repay you.
Yes.
So please let me do this. This is, I need to do this. This is the way I can repay you. So don't feel guilty, and you don't have to thank me. I appreciate that you appreciate me, but you don't have to. This is what I do. And I love it.
Yes. And and that's the kind of attitude that you want someone to have if they're taking care of you.
Yes, you don't want to be a burden to anyone.
You don't want to feel that feeling. And I want to step back about 2 seconds. I like to stir up a little trouble. Just because the person is in the bloodline, it does not mean they're the one assigned to get the job done.
It does not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we're looking at all these other opportunities or all
Mhm.
these other folks that are more connected or maybe in
Yes.
the direct line. Honey, they're not graced with it.
Mm-mm.
They can't
No.
handle it 1 hour.
Mm-mm.
That's not who God wants to use. He needs you to be strong. He needs you to have a good attitude. He needs you to not put them in bondage, but put them in a place where they're already vulnerable.
Yes.
They need an advocate.
Yes.
Yes.
They need someone with
Yes.
patience, with love. You have to have the fruit of the Spirit to do this. And
Absolutely.
And people think they can just, I can just step in and do it. You can't, because when they don't remember, how do you remind them? If they misplaced something, how do you remind them? My grandmother the other day, she couldn't find her keys.
Right.
Her car keys was on there, her house keys, and it literally takes me 10 minutes to get her in the right frame of mind. No, we're going to calm down. We're not going to speak this. We're going to speak positive. We're going to find it. I'm looking. She's like, I done looked all over and I found them. And I said, didn't we say we were going to find them? So you have to be equipped. You can't be a negative Nancy, because again, they feed off that energy and they feel if they're being a burden. And she'll say, I don't want to be a burden because I call X, Y, and Z. And I felt it in their tone.
Yeah.
They feel that. And it becomes a guilt thing for them. Like, I don't want to extend myself, or I don't want to do. No. And I tell her all the time, and we laugh. As long as I have breath of my body to do, we're going to figure it out. Some days may be harder than others, but we'll figure it out. It's
That's right.
This is that. We'll figure it out. And you have to know how to talk to them, how to ease that spirit, how to calm the spirit down, what to say, what not to say, how to say it. It's grace that comes, it's a ministry all by itself.
Yes. And there are times when you cannot respond to some things,
Yes.
where your silence is your communication. And then I look up and I go, well, let's talk about this, because you do not ever want to put yourself in a position where they cannot continue. I'm going to use that word, to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to make sure you can make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to make sure you have their best interests at heart. You also their protector, so you're keeping people out.
Right.
Yes.
And don't let us show up in the hospital and somebody does something wrong. That's it. It's on.
Right.
And they trust you enough because they'll tell somebody, and she'll tell people, she'll call me her daughter-in-law, and I was like, girl, well, you know what I mean. And she'll be like, she knows my stuff, and she'll sit back and she'll be quiet. And if somebody calls, oh no, my nurse is here, where I'm fine, or this, and because again, it's that sense of ease for them.
Yes.
That sense of calmness that when you come, it brings over them just by your spirit. So
just by you being there.
Just by you being there. So that's why I say it's a ministry that everyone is not capable of. It doesn't matter if it's their children, their grandchildren, you have to be anointed to do this.
Anointed. So let me ask this question. How do you stay healthy in the midst of the new job role that God has graced you with? How do you stay healthy? I know you have to pray, because you're pretty much on 24-hour calls, some of us.
Yes.
So I know you have to pray, but give me some, because someone's going to be listening to this who's not going to say anything, but they're listening. How do we encourage them to take care of themselves? What specifically would you suggest? We'll let you have it.
I'll say listen to your body. You have to listen. Like today, I can give you a prime example. It's funny. I was supposed to do something today and to get batteries that I already placed on Monday. And I knew within my body I could not do it. I was just flat today. I could not do it. I know that I need to give myself grace. And I think when you listen to yourself and that inner voice with yourself, you need to rest today. I can't be a help to anyone else if I am ragged, if I'm tired, if I'm not rested, if I'm exhausted. So you have to take care of yourself first, that self-preservation first. So you can't keep pouring from an empty cup.
Absolutely.
So I can't assist. I can't do anything. I can't make even cognitive decisions if I'm depleted. So I think the first thing is listening to yourself, your inner person. It may be quiet. I mean, you may say, I can't get up, or the alarm didn't go off. I didn't hear it. Just listen to your inner man to say, okay, what do I need to take care of today? Today was self-care for me today. And I had to be obedient and only not allow yourself to feel guilty, because guilt will come on and say, I know I got to do this, but I can't. So that guilt comes in. But when you give yourself grace to say, I can't be an asset if I'm depleted, you got to look at that inner voice. And of course, prayer.
Yeah, you're not a machine, right, Regina? No. You're not a machine. You are
no.
a machine.
And I was saying earlier, I was, when that check engine light come on, you got to pay attention to it.
Yes.
And the self-care, I'm not perfect with the self-care. Some days I do it well, other days I don't, in full transparency. But when I do it well, what it looks like is a routine. I get up in the morning, I set aside some time, quiet time to pray, to stretch, because my body needs to stretch. Getting a little older, so things are a little, moving a little slower. So I start that, 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, making up my bed, just little things so my environment looks good and it feels welcoming. And then I take time to sit on my porch. I love the outdoors. That's screened in with no bugs. So just being able to just sit and do, and I've been on this listening to different sermons and different music ministries that feed my soul. So my self-care has shifted from physically getting like my nails done, my hair done. I could do that. My self-care now is in the internal self-care.
That's
my spirit needs to be nurtured, because it was just, because of the weight between work, children in college, adult children, caregiving, my dog is getting older, everything. I had to take care of the inner part of me and really take some time. They always laugh at me because they know on YouTube I'm watching somebody's sermon or I got some kind of gospel music coming on. But that's my self-care too.
That's right.
The inner side of me.
That's your reset button.
It's my reset. And then some days I just like to be by myself.
Yes, you need that quiet.
Everybody leave the house. I just want to be in here. I don't need to run the streets. I don't need to go shopping. I don't need to do anything. I just want to be with me because I'm really good company. I just love putting on some cute lounging pajamas and, smell goods and just doing facials. I'm good.
So what you just said, so that everyone listens, is that's the time when you become completely focused on yourself.
Yep.
Because there's absolutely no way you can take care of anybody else. Now, you guys have been mothers. You understand. I understand the whole concept of when the kids would go to sleep, the mothers would do other things. Because that's the time. There's a whole concept to that now, where if they're sleeping, you're either going to sleep or you're going to go do something else.
Yes.
Because you have to manage that time. Specifically, what Regina said and what you're saying is vital to the health and welfare of the caregiver.
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens, though, if you have no help? Oops, I dropped the mic.
Yes, you did. I think that comes with what Regina said about multitasking and taking those and prioritizing what you need to do. Come up with a plan. When I get up, even I do it some days in advance. I know what days I go over there. I know what I need to do when I go over there. I know how much medicine to give, how much I can give. You have that, you become in a routine. So even if no one else helps, you still have backup, which is yourself. So you got to leave yourself a little room to move, to pivot, because some things may happen. Just like last week, there was a storm where she lives and it knocked out the TV and the phone. So there was no communication whatsoever. Unless you physically went there was no communication. So you had to pivot. And you have to learn how to sometimes pivot when you're in this area on the spot. You don't know. You could the phone is just ringing. She may not hear it. Or the phone was ringing because it wasn't working. So you have to pivot and give yourself room to still be, in Regina and our cases, a mother, a wife, a daughter. You still have to be those other people and still be a caregiver. So each person was inside of yourself needs their own thing. So my husband has to have time. My kids have to have time. I have to have time to, like Regina said, sometimes I can sit in my room pitch black. I don't want no TV on, no phone. I just want me and my thoughts and God alone to communicate, because there's so much going around. And then you got to be caregiver. Then it's like it rotates.
Yeah,
It rotates.
switch.
It switches. You wear those different hats. So some days I'm a hat, I'm the mom. Some days I'm the wife, you know, and you still have to be that person to yourself. Mm-hmm. So if you have no other, and I'm grateful because my husband is there, but when you have, and sometimes he can only do but so much because it's personal for him. You know, it's seeing someone that you love not in that same area or arena or strength that they were in before, that you're used to them being. So she may not can get up and cook, you know, fat back and grits like she used to, you know. So it's different seeing that.
It's an adjustment. It's an adjustment.
An adjustment. So sometimes it's not as easy for the other people to make that adjustment because they're so attached and they don't know how to pivot quickly. Well, again, when God graced you for that and he puts you in that arena, he shows you how to pivot, how to move. Okay, she's not the same person she was yesterday. She's not the same person she was 15 years ago. Right. And I remind her of that. You're not the same person, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
And the theme of what you're saying here is it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay.
That's okay.
That's all they need to hear sometimes. It's okay.
And we need to say that to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take me an hour and a half versus an hour. That's nice.
Yeah.
You know, if I've taken care of the high priority listing, the question that I asked of you by yourself, you have to be a little organized, right?
Have a plan.
You have to have a plan. And that's how it's done. 9 times out of 10, if God has chosen you, it's because that you were faithful over the few things in other areas of your life. You didn't let it completely fall apart. Yes. You didn't let others completely fall apart. You took care of them. So now he's going to make you ruler over many. This is a big ruler over many portion. He can trust you. You're a great planner. You know, you are a great sensor. Both of you are great sensors. You feel things and you say, let me do this. Mm-hmm. He needs you to be open to that. So all of the above, right?
And I would say when you're saying if you don't have help, I think like Jackie said, you have to pivot. Mm-hmm. So maybe your help doesn't come from family members or, you know, people that you know. You may have to pivot and kind of research some community organizations that can help. If you have a church family or your friend group, you may have to think outside the box for your help. Mm-hmm. And then if you can't get help with the caregiving side, there may be some other areas that you can get help with. So I know I work with some fantastic colleagues that if I need help with something at work, all I have to do is ask and say, hey, listen, I'm dealing with this, and that. Would you be able to take this off my plate?
All right.
And so that would free up some time to help in the caregiver side or whatever it may be. So I think just being creative and even though we're calling ourselves, you know, I'm saying superwoman or whatever in quotes, the reality is that we're human.
Yes.
And we have to have grace, give ourselves grace that we cannot do it.
Do it all. Yes.
And we have to be able to reach out to our extended support system.
Our tribe.
We have to. Tribe. There's no way you can do this without, you know, talking to the neighbor to see if they can pull your trash can in, you know, just little things.
Yes.
You know, little things that take every little thing taken off your plate, it adds up. And then you're like, whoo. So when people say, how do you do this? It's because my support system outside of this has been awesome.
Phenomenal. Awesome. Phenomenal. I tell you, one of the things that I absolutely love is my iPhone. If you're not iPhone folks on the screen, I'm sorry. Because without FaceTime, the very first couple of days, there's this one lady and she knows who she is in my church. I would just call her and she'd say, well, FaceTime me and turn the camera around. And that was my training. Because, you know, for some of this, there needed to be some form of training and there wasn't. Mm-hmm. Right. But she'd say, well, turn it, let me see it, you know, face, you know, and all of these tools, she's the person that God sent to help me to be a part of the tribe. there's so many others who step in because we allow them to. This is the one time where I have not tried to be Superwoman. Now I'm very, very, and I'm going to say this because of who I am. I'm very particular. But I was very particular before.
Yes.
So this is just an extension of who I am, because I know that there are some people who will tear something up into shreds and I'll have to clean it up.
Yes.
So what I try to make sure is that the person, again, they may want to help, that they're in their strengths, not in their weaknesses. And you're dealing with just kind of a newness. For me, it was just kind of new.
Yeah.
It is. It's a whole new world. And I think so many people, especially now in this age group, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with, in some capacity, being a caretaker. And it may not even be, going to doctor's appointment. It may be, my parents are in New Jersey. It may be calling my mom's phone stopped working, her iPhone. I need a new phone. Okay, I'll go ahead and order it. It's little things that I think we take for granted of what being a caretaker is. And I don't think a lot of people even realize that they're walking in the caretaker role, because they think of it as being, I have to have medical power of attorney, or I have to be this, I have to be that. No, just walking through your parents, if you have senior parents, walking through how to hook up Alexa, how to, how to hook up their phone. That's all caregiving. Because again, like I said, my mother would tell me, don't buy your father anything electronic for Christmas, because you're not here to set it up. So unless you're going to come here and set it up, don't buy him no new electronics. Because again, that's a different area for them.
Right.
So technology is my area. I love technology. So he'll call me, Alexa is not doing X, Y, and Z. How do I do that? I'm 3,000 miles away. I'm in North Carolina. They're in New Jersey. That's still part of caregiving. Even though I may not be able to go to a doctor's visit with him, that's still me taking the time to being a caregiver to my parents.
Taking the time.
Yeah,
Even
so like my siblings do that, because like they're not here, but technology is not my lane. That's not my lane. My dad looks at me, can you hook this up? No, I cannot. But let me call my brother, and when he's in town, he'll hook it up for you, or my sister, they'll hook it up for you.
Yes.
So kind of dishing off some of those responsibilities, because that's not my lane. I'll get frustrated in there and tear your stuff up.
But you gotta learn your lane. And that's the thing about it, is when you learn your lane, there's no traffic.
Right.
I can do what I do.
Everybody's going in the same direction.
Right. I don't mind you doing it your lane. Because again, like I said, my parents are in New Jersey. So I have an extended community there, that if they need to go to the doctor, there's people there to take them. I don't get upset. I don't get jealous. We're all working in our own lane.
Yes.
So when I'm in my lane, there's no collisions, there's no traffic. I don't get upset because you're in your lane, I'm in my lane, and they go parallel. There's no intersecting.
Right. There's no intersecting. There's the chaos is not there.
No, there's no chaos.
What I keep hearing as a common theme is that we are really good at making adjustments as needed.
Yes.
And we're fine with saying, oh no, I can't do that. Let me find someone else to do it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not tearing that up. Oh no.
And again, and that's why sometimes I don't like when people say superwoman or you got a cape. But when you understand that you're that superwoman, you understand that everything is not always your strength. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, and you know who to pivot that to. And it may not be me. I can give that off to somebody else who's better at that. And I think that's where it comes to being comfortable in who God made you to be and created you to be, knowing that he didn't assign me to do everything.
Right.
What he gave me to do, I do it well, but he didn't give me everything to do.
But you have to be okay with that.
Yes.
There's some people who just want to be the be all, do all. Well, honey, you just knock yourself out.
You do it. You go ahead and do it.
But this is my basket of everything that I do well. I'm going to hang out here. I think the beauty in the relationships is finding someone who you can collaborate with and talk to and connect. I think that's part of our success story. We have folks that are there for us.
Yes.
Well, I could tell you, I had to get out of God's way and realize he was here for me.
Yes.
Stop trying to do everything.
Stop trying to do.
Yeah. Stop trying to problem solve everything. Bring it to me.
Take your hands off of
it so that I can, move and work on your behalf. So for me, I had to get out of God's way on a lot of things. I was like, and it was almost as if he said, I've been waiting for you to come to me.
Right. I've been waiting for you to
I
take
saw
your
you
hands off.
struggling. I saw you not sleeping. I saw you reach for that piece of cake. I saw you.
Or piece of
Coping
chocolate.
mechanism.
A
Yes.
piece of chocolate. Right?
But that's what happens. We get coping mechanism where we're not operating in what we're supposed to be operating and allowing God to be God.
Mhm.
And that's what I had to learn. I mean, I'm still in, my word for this year has been boundaries.
Yeah.
I can only do what I can do. And that's it. I can't be I mean, I've had people call me at 3:00 in the morning. I have people call me in the hospital to pray for them. And I had to realize I need to move out the way because I'm not going to be the stumbling block for you to get to God.
Right.
You need to seek. Sometimes people have to seek God directly for themselves and don't use you as an scapegoat or as a crutch. I don't want to be anybody's crutch. I want you to see God face to face and get that answer for yourself. Now, if he needs me to be assistance, but he don't need me to be in the way. So I had to learn how to say, okay, move. I know your intentions are good, but move. Shut up.
Yeah.
Let this go. Let them. And sometimes that also means letting people get consequences that they deserve. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you see someone getting consequences that they deserve and you want to stop it. And God's saying, no, let the consequences flow. I'm here for it, but you got to let the consequences flow. So I'm like, okay, God.
Yeah, right. And along those lines, obedience.
Yes.
When you talk about consequences, and I look and I go, gosh, what if I was not obedient to what God said? That consequence would have been just, I wouldn't be here in this situation. If I was not obedient when God said apply for that job, I would not be in a hybrid situation that allows me the flexibility to keep my eye on my parents or take them to the doctors. I wouldn't be in a supportive work environment. When I just look at when he told me to move or he told me to stay, and when I was obedient, he saved me from those consequences. So
he saved you. Yes. And last year, you remember what I was going through last year in my own professional life. It caused me not to pay attention to my father.
Yes.
And he was going through these changes, and I'm so bogged down professionally. Really, and he's always been very independent. So when that shift came, I'm like going, what happened? Well, what happened is you were so focused, for the last 90 days over here with this professional job. Now you can take the blinders off. And when it happened, I'm thinking, oh, thank you, God, that I'm smart enough now to take control of the situation that you've had. Now I can make the next step. It'd take me about a moment, maybe 5 minutes to make up my mind. But it's almost if he had to push me into that place.
And then we look back on it. And then you look back on it, you were like, you saved me. And it was so funny, even just hearing Regina, because we talked and when it was different transitions going on and certain avenues didn't work. But then when the correct door that he had her to walk in, and it gives you so much joy, especially when you're on the outside looking in and you know what the person was going through. And when I tell you, it made my heart so glad. And I was telling somebody, for God to bless you, you have to learn how to be happy for other people when they get their blessing. So it was a lot of things that led up to that. I mean, there was a lot of doors that were closed and we were like, okay, God, what's going on? But then when the right door opened for her, it was like, okay, God, now I see why those doors were closed, because specific door open for you to do everything else for her. And it just like, boom, it all lined even to where she moved. And it was so, you just have so much joy when you're walking. And again, when you're in your own lane and you see God blessing other people in their lane.
Yes.
There's so much joy. There's no bitterness. There's no jealousy. There's no competition, because you know they're walking in what God called them to be.
Yes.
And walking what God called me to be. So even though that we may not be in the same place professionally anymore, our lives still matched up spiritually.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing.
It lined up spiritually.
It lined up. We fed off of each other spiritually.
Yes.
And continued to support each other. Now, definitely, Regina knew what was going on in my life last year. And I thank God. Hello, doggy woggy. I thank God for the situation that I was in, because it almost looked like a rejection that caused God to say, are you ready? You think you're rejected here, but I have another assignment for you.
I have another door open for you.
I have another door open. So the rejection, quote unquote rejection, was for me to move onward.
It was time. And God, he's such a wonderful father. Sometimes he knows you're not going to do this voluntarily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this in your way, in your path, for you to do nothing but make the decision. And then it all works out, because you were like,
make it hot. He's gonna make it hot seat.
He's gonna make it hot. So you make the decision, and it's all well. But that's what we have to be, like you said, Regina. Obedience is better than sacrifice. I'd rather be obedient
than to
do what he
called me to do
that. Yeah,
than to sacrifice.
Yeah, that's his word.
Everything.
Better to obey. And what's really interesting about this conversation? We're almost at the end. And I'm just like, so much to say. Will you ladies come back?
Of course.
There's more to say. There's more to say, because we're like the dynamic trio now, not the duo, but the awesome trio now. And there are others, but I'm glad. I had no idea we were where we are until now in totality. But God said to you, what he said to me is our time. It's our place. Oh my goodness. This transformation train has been moving down the track, happy with the music on and the wind blowing. And now I've got to turn her around and bring her back to the station. But what a good conversation to have. And I know it's going to inspire somebody. And you know what I say at this time? I say you have to trust the process.
Trust the process.
And this broadcast is based on an excerpt from Romans 12:2, that you be transformed, which is what we're talking about, by the renewing of your mind. We had to change our mind, change our thinking, and be transformed. So now the power transformation train is just chugging along. I've turned her around. I'm getting ready to pump the brakes. Boom. Regina and Jackie will be back, because there's more to say.
Yes.
This is our ministry. Regina and Jackie, this is our purpose.
Yes.
And we have to walk in that calling, because
Absolutely.
God trusts us. You got anything last minute to say? I'm going to give you about a minute or so, and then we're going to have to, I hate to leave us, but Lord knows this is juicy, but we got to rock and roll.
I just agree with what you said, Paula. Walk in your calling and your anointing that God has placed in your life. Yes. And when you do that, there is no traffic, there is no deviation, there is no anything but just walking in the will that he has for you. It won't always be easy. I'm not going to say that. There will be opposition, but you have backup.
Absolutely.
And the best backup in the world.
Yes. He said,
and stay grateful.
And stay grateful.
I was going to say, stay grateful throughout everything that you go through. Give him thanks. Good times, hard times, the trials, the tribulations, give him thanks.
Yes.
Give him thanks. So just knowing that we can give him thanks, just knowing that we're in the right place at the right time, but humbled by the fact that he chose us, makes me want to give him praise.
Yes.
Okay, everybody, I really am going to wrap this up. I'm having a wonderful time. We had a great discussion. We are just grateful for what the Lord is doing. However, we're going to have to, come back next time. So you need to stay tuned to the Power Transformation broadcast. I'm so happy you joined us tonight. And thank you, Regina. Thank you, Jackie. We'll be back soon, and I'll talk to you later. There they are. Wonder Women. Y'all take care, and we love you. Take care. Have a good evening.